Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to give folks just a couple more seconds to get in and get situated before we get started. Alrighty, well, we have passed triple digits in attendance, so let's go ahead and get started here. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our fourth boot camp session of the Run on Less Messy Middle series and our first session for the battery electric vehicle unit. My name is Rachel Ellenberger. I'm the Industry Engagement Manager for the North American Council for Freight Efficiency, and I'll be the moderator today. If we could go to the next slide, before we get started, I would just like to thank our team at ACT News for providing all of the technical support for the bootcamp series. If you have not already subscribed, I'd like to encourage you to do so using the link on the screen here. And if we can go to the next slide, since it's officially April, I can say that ACT is happening later this month. So if you are not registered yet, use the code on the screen for a discount on your conference pass. NACFE will be there. We'll be at booth 6033, so be sure to visit us while you're there. If we could go to the next slide here. So as I mentioned, this is the fourth session of the overall boot camp and the first session of the battery electric vehicle unit. 2 weeks ago, we wrapped up the diesel and natural gas unit with our 2-hour workshop, and now we are officially kicking off our BEV unit today with our very first session. This unit will be running until the end of May. If you didn't get a chance to join us for the previous workshop, we'll be hosting our BEV workshop on May 20th. Now, workshops are by invitation only, and in order to receive an invitation, you have to register for at least one of the sessions in that unit. So everyone who's joining us live today, you will receive an invite from ACT News. When you do so, make sure that you register and save that spot on your calendar. And if we could go to the next slide, I'd like to turn it over to Mike Roth, our Executive Director, with a very exciting update from the run today.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel, and thanks all of you coming to these boot camp sessions to give me a little bit of time at the beginning. I know you're here to listen to these great speakers and the content we've got today, but thanks for giving me a minute or two. I'm going to do this in every boot camp, and this boot camp series is really exciting. We're hearing from the people really making all these decarbonization strategies work in the field, it's really a pleasure. So thank you all for attending and sharing your questions with us. That we'll get to as many of them as we can. So next slide. So I do have a big update today. So this morning we announced that we will have 13 fleets participating in Run on Less Messy Middle. So what that means is these fleets are willing to share with us. I always kind of say the good, the bad, and the ugly of being on the bleeding edge. So these fleets are out there paving a path, a bit of pioneers to make this work and to make these different solutions work in the real world. So we have 13 fleets. We have one that we were unable to announce today, but we'll get that announced in the next couple of weeks. There are 4. The first 4 on the left are diesel-based trucks that will be operated by an owner-operator and a couple of larger fleets. We will have 3 natural gas trucks, Clayson, UPS, and Wegmans. And then we will have 4 battery electric trucks. All 3 of our speakers are at OEMs that are supporting these fleets that will be in. So there will be a fleet operating a Windrose, a Volvo, and a Tesla semi battery electric in the run. We will also have an e-Cascadia being operated in California as well. And then lastly, we have 2 hydrogen fuel cell fleets operating hydrogen fuel cell tractors as well in the run. So I think we're really pleased at NACFE that we are delivering to all real fleets, real trucks, real truck drivers, real routes. This is definitely moving goods in North America with all these different solutions. I'm also proud of the diversity of these fleets, all the way from an owner operator to some mega fleets. We have fleets that operate all in long haul, but some return to base, some are more over the road. So really exciting. The NACFE team will be visiting all of these fleets in June and a little bit in July, and we will be publishing their stories through profile pages on the website with videos and pictures, specifications, what kind of freight they're hauling on all in all in August. So, the next few months we'll be collecting all this information. A friend of mine coined it. We'll be getting all their evidence. So I thought that was an interesting word of them of their efforts. And then in September, of course, from September 8th to the 25th, we will have the actual run, and there we'll be streaming data from the trucks and telling more stories as we learn more from these fleets throughout. So this will all happen over the next few months, and as Rachel said, a lot of the NACFE team and a lot of these companies will be at ACT Expo. So there will be a place for us to talk more about what we're learning, what we're finding, what's going on, and work with you all. So thanks for the time, everybody, and let's get on with the webinar. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Mike. So I just have a quick few pieces of normal housekeeping before we get started. If we can progress to the next slide, I would just like to thank today's sponsor, the Environmental Defense Fund. Thank you so much to EDF for your ongoing support to help make this series possible. Next slide, please. We talk a little bit about the quiz that's available. There is a quiz after today's session. It will be available immediately after this session. And if you haven't taken a quiz previously, this is your opportunity to test your knowledge that you've gained from the session. Once you successfully complete your quiz, you will have the option to provide your contact information in a Google form. This will enter you into a drawing for some Run on Less Messy Middle swag. So be sure that you take the quiz and fill out your form. Next slide, please. And finally, just a reminder, this session is being recorded. It will be posted later online this week. If you didn't get a chance to submit a question on the registration form, but you would like to do so, the Q&A controls are in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, so make sure that you do that. During the Q&A, I will be relaying your questions to our speakers. So if you have questions that we won't be covering in this session, we will still be collecting them for future content. So if there's something that you're curious about, be sure to send it in. And finally, if you run into any technical issues, please reach out to Stefan Babcock at ACT News. His contact information is here on the screen, and he will help you troubleshoot. And next slide, please. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. I'd like to introduce you to today's panel. Our first presentation today will be from Jared Ruiz, who is the Regional Vice President for the Western U.S. and the Electromobility Leader for Volvo Trucks North America. Jared, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I will hand it over to you.
Great, thanks, Rachel. Really excited to be here today. Thanks for having me. You already gave the intro, so appreciate that. You can move on to the next slide and we'll just jump right in. The Volvo Group has a strong presence across the globe. You can see the contributions as a percentage that each market makes to the global footprint. We have production facilities in 18 countries. 18 countries provides us a very diverse balance. As we continue to grow globally, we're heavily focused right now on increasing that North American footprint even more aggressively. You can go to the next slide. As we zero in on North America, we can see here strength of the Volvo Group brands from trucks to buses to power generation and energy products. And this influence in locations in the North America we expect to continue to grow. Now we can go ahead and move on to the next slide here. We'll zero in on the heavy duty BEV market and go one more if you don't mind. Look a little bit at the timeline here. There's a correlation from Volvo Trucks timeline for heavy duty BEV in the US to the heavy duty BEV market in general in the US. To put it in perspective, if we reference Polk data, although Polk data cannot be completely accurate, it is an industry reference that we can use to identify trends. We see progressive increases in scalability. So in 2020, if we isolate that year, we saw maybe a handful of customers industry-wide, less than 100 trucks industry-wide in the heavy-duty segment. If we isolate 2024, we saw over 160 customers in the industry buying BEVs and a little under 1,000 trucks industry-wide that year. So we saw a significant percentage increase in buying customers and in volumes. However, the percentage of heavy-duty BEVs compared to the total regional haul market still landed around 1% area range. But I would say a lot of learning so far. There's been a lot of growth. However, still a significant amount of remaining growth to be had in order to make up significant share of the total market. You can move to the next slide, please. Some of the learnings we have published in a formal lessons learned guide from the early years of pre-commercial through beginning of commercial rollout in heavy-duty BEV offerings. There may be some of you who already are familiar with our Volvo Lights project, but if not, feel free to download at the site reference on the slide deck that will be shared later. And if you have any issues getting your hands on it, I'd be happy to share that document with the NACV team to disseminate that. You can move to the next slide. We found that in the market, it's important to have support established, aftermarket support, service support, before the sale happens in any given market that you enter. If we conceptualize everything that goes into the process of planning out an electrification project, then we have a good plan for successful deployment. We refer to this as the electromobility ecosystem. You can move on to the next slide. And then one more, please. If you noticed on our Volvo Lights findings, charging infrastructure availability, of course, in build out, it's critical. So together with over 25 partners, we've set up an association of members with a collective focus on ensuring the success and prioritization of charging infrastructure at a broader scale. We call this PACT, which stands for Powering America's Commercial Transportation. You can go to the next slide. We'll take a look now at talk about some of the operational findings that we've seen over the last handful of years. Not all applications are electrifiable today, to be honest. However, there is a significant portion of the market that could be electrified. We estimate roughly 15 to 20% of the entire regional home market could be electrified today just based on operating range. With regards to maintenance and service, we've seen a high dependency on sensors and software for each truck to stay on the road and maximize uptime. If a truck is down due to software, sometimes that means there's no limping in the truck when it's convenient that you might have on a diesel truck when you're operating that. We've seen some, I'd say, more wear and tear on the tires in general. I know there's a lot of industry stakeholders all working together to try and make improvements on that. It's very clear from findings here that the kilowatt hour per mile efficiency ratings improve in the warmer months of the year and decrease in the colder months of the year. Now, whether our customers in the Northeast, Southeast, Central, Southwest, West, Canada, we see the same trends happening across the board. The variations we see could be 0.3 up to half a kilowatt hour per mile in fluctuation based on climate temperatures. This may be something that the fleets may consider in how you operate and how you train your drivers to take that into account, that seasonality into your operations. We found that, for example, if a fleet uses their heated seats to heat the cab instead of just blasting the heater in those colder months, even in California, they can see an improvement in overall efficiency. Average speed, of course, is a big contributor. So, the amount of miles you do on highway versus city miles impacts your efficiency based on the amount of regenerative braking you can take advantage of. And we found that braking you use can vary significantly between drivers, even more of a variation when drivers are flipping back and forth from diesel to electric. So if the driver isn't running the same routes every day dedicated to BEV, then it's harder for those drivers to adapt to the driving behavior they need to get the best efficiency. You can go to the next slide, please. In some of our refrigerated and other trailer applications we've been seeing out there that are attached directly or indirectly to the energy storage system, we notice that there's some energy being consumed outside of propulsion energy, and that can impact the power draw from the batteries. Some of that may be the liftgate cycles that are happening, maybe a refrigerated unit or anything else that's pulling from that energy storage unit. We're seeing a range of routes out there, from predictable, same trip, same miles every day. Some customers that don't have the luxury to predict their routes on any given day, and that really is impacted by dispatch, and this requires, we see, buy-in and leadership at the driver level, the dispatch level, operations management level, and everything above, just to make sure you have the support to make any adjustments or changes you need to. Also leads into a topic of opportunity charging. Really, if we break that down into two buckets, we see, a need to opportunity charge in order to perform more repetitions of the same route in any given day. So just more repetitions. And then the second bucket there, a need to opportunity charge to extend total range of a route, right? Maybe they can make more deliveries in one day on that given route. I'll say some of the developments we've seen with opportunity charging ranges from public to private or semi-public versus a customer depot. Really, if the fleets just want to be able to execute on that with as little to no extra steps in their daily routes, in their daily operations. So if a customer can pull through on the site, it can more closely reflect their operations that they have existing. And we really see a big opportunity for future technology to help identify those sites in the future. I think it'll be a big help to the fleets. You can go to the next slide. And then even one more actually after that, if you don't mind. Yep, thank you. So clearly there's a lot up in the air in the regulatory environment. However, we still see unexpected advancements in BEV truck models within the industry, including within Volvo. We know that over the next 3 to 5 years, battery technology will become more efficient, less space prohibitive. We also see that there will be gains in range, which is always a popular subject, as well as the maintainability and software normalization out there. We expect future industry offerings will also expand the number of applications that can be electrified, and we'll continue to see more, we think, semi-public and public sites rolling out within the next 12 months to 24 months. And I think what this will lead to is more flexibility in charging and funding solutions in the future. That may be more flexible incentives, maybe more flexible financing solutions. An example of those financing solutions we've already kicked off here at Volvo with Volvo on Demand, which we announced at a previous ACT Expo, and we expect that trend to continue to become more popular over the next few years. I'm teasing you a little bit with the background here, and that's a new technology that we will be coming out with in the future. We know that we're going to continue to advance technology. We are fully committed to this as a brand, globally as a group. And I expect this year to be kind of a wind-up year, which I've said before, that ultimately will result in a spring forward over the next few years that follow this year in this heavy-duty BEV space. Thanks, Rachel. That's my presentation.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Jared. Really looking forward to the Q&A at the end here. But I'd like to welcome now Dan Priestley from Tesla. He's the Senior Manager of Semi-Truck Engineering. Dan, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us here today. I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thanks so much, Rachel. Thanks for the intro, and feel free to jump to the next slide. I'm really excited to be here and have this opportunity to provide a little bit insight into where we are with the Semi and what it's going to look like going forward. As a refresher, Tesla is entering the market with two different versions. We have a standard range version that can achieve 300 miles on a single charge and a long range version that can achieve 500 miles on a single charge. These are demonstrated ranges, and we have vehicles in the fleet that are running in these applications that fit these ranges very well. And the Semi is designed to replace those diesel trucks one for one. From the moment of its inception, we understood that this could not just be a new part of the industry that was electric. We needed to tackle all the variety of applications. And we see that these two variants can handle the majority of day cab operations that are out there today. And we've been doing customer demos along with full deliveries for customers, but we have been doing demos in a wide variety of applications, all kinds of applications from delivery to LTL, to truckload, line haul, etc. And these are really showing the capability of the Semi. And frankly, they've been going really well. And we encourage all of you out there that are interested to work with us and potentially doing a demo here on the order of like several weeks or a month to really get a feel of what it's like to operate the Semi and a capable EV in your fleet. Generally speaking, the experience has been fantastic with most folks giving us a lovely list of anecdotes. We actually have a running list from the folks that are involved, be it fleet managers or drivers, on their quotes after they have a chance to operate the truck. I personally think that The most fun ones are when we have really skeptical people come in, and then at the end of the day, they love the truck. One person said that I don't even know why we were here. Why are we even doing this? And now afterwards, they said, I can't wait to drive this thing more. So the EV experience has really evolved a long way, and we wanted to make the Semi a key part of the pleasure to operate in the driver front, but also something that was going to work economically. And that's really what underpins everything related to the Semi. And where did that start? It starts with efficiency. Can you go to the next slide, please? So on the efficiency point, we've got the fleet of vehicles running out there in this wide variety of applications, different climates, different loads, all different speeds, and we're continuing to see 1.7 kilowatt hours a mile is very typical. And this number is going to continue to improve. The next version of our truck, as we look to ramp through 2026, is actually going to be more efficient than this. And this comes from a relentless chase of how we are using every single watt hour on the truck. And this is something that we've honed over the years on our light duty side. And we've brought that same thinking over, along with some of the technologies, to the heavy duty side. For example, we'll be migrating over our 48 volt low voltage system. This is just more efficient to operate, but also provides fewer conversion losses. And even though that represents a really small amount of the total overall load to move the vehicle down the road, it is about that chase of every single watt hour of working within a system that is designed to be battery electric from day one that result in really strong efficiency gains. Now, it's one thing to be able to run the truck. It's another thing in order to maintain the truck. And we really want to make sure that as we deploy these vehicles, our customers feel that Tesla is going to be there to support them. And so far, that has been working really well. We will always enter the market with a service solution to support our customers' needs. Thus far, the fleet that's out there is seeing about 95% uptime, and about 72% of service issues result in the customer getting their vehicle back in less than 24 hours. These are numbers that we're proud of, but we're going to continue to improve. We understand this is a business tool, and the only way to get use of that tool is actually have it available and in your operations. So the service teams continue to craft tooling and procedures and working with our fleets and customers directly to potentially turn on some of their own service so that they feel you feel comfortable with the vehicle and empowered to work on it. Now, how do we make this happen at scale? We have a great product, but what does it take to actually bring it to market? Now, can you go to the next slide, please? We've been a little busy building a factory out in Nevada. This is on the same plot of land as a factory that we already had building powertrains and batteries for our light duty side. And we wanted to double down our investment in Nevada. It's a great spot. And this area, which was a trailer yard less than a year ago, is now fully stood up. The shell's on. We're working on a couple little bits still, like the stamping area in the bottom right corner of that bottom right picture. But this building is most part closed in, and we're now working through all of the interior utility work, dropping in the walls, separating spaces, and getting ready to land equipment. As I mentioned, this will be ramping through 2026, and with the goal of eventually supporting up to 50,000 units a year. Now, we are going at this scale because doing so allows us to lower our cost and not just compete with diesel on a total cost of ownership through OpEx, but also to be as competitive as possible with the direct purchase price. We are tackling every single component in the vehicle and ensuring that it is critical for the truck to run, but also that it's something that we're doing so at cost to provide a very clear path to a prosperous economic situation for our customers. What this results in is that for most folks is the investment in these trucks pays back substantially sooner than your conventional fleet turnover schedule. So by the time that you are looking to move these assets on to maybe it's a lower portion of your fleet, or it's onto the secondary market, you've paid back that investment of switching to electric. And we understand that by having this lower total cost of ownership, we get to do this at a larger scale. It's a bit of a positive feedback loop, and we're really excited that we're going to be entering the market with such a capable truck at a low enough cost for people to see the savings immediately. Now, this is not just about scaling the factory and the vehicles in and of itself. We also have to scale charging. And Tesla is continuing to make investments, not just in our factory, but in charging as well. Can you go to the next slide, please? Tesla's going to be putting its money where its mouth is, both with supporting public available charging, but also we're working closely with customers that want to deploy charging at their own sites where that makes sense for their operations. And what we're seeing so far is that those that are able to deploy fast charging and take advantage of it are able to slot those trucks in for as high utilization as possible. This provides the best pathway for a positive return on your investment. and a great TCO. It just means that you get to put the truck back on the road doing work for you. Now, that fast charging infrastructure, it takes time to deploy. And also, we see a lot of savings when we work through with fleets. It's clear that the bigger that you can go, the more economic savings that you have. It's pretty simple. Deploying a piece of hardware is pretty straightforward, but deploying multiple pieces of hardware, the curve for deploying that hardware or the hardware itself is pretty linear. But the curve for deploying the hardware, so doing the permitting, working with utility, doing all the trenching, getting the shovels out, that's very non-linear, where it's a big initial step and then it's a much shallower trajectory. Working at scale is key here. So we like to think in deploying in double-digit volumes with multiple charge posts, because that's where we really start to see the operational benefits of going to electric really taking hold. You get to double down on your investment, take advantage of all the effort that you did to put up a charging station, but also then schedule your trucks in an efficient way. Really work through encircling on fast charging, turning over those assets day in, day out. And at the end of the day, we are proud also to have a really robust charging hardware solution. Keep in mind that everything that we do to bring charging hardware to the table is the same thing that we do on the passenger car side. Over the life of Tesla, we've deployed more than 60,000 DC fast charging posts, and we are using all of that experience to drive down our costs for deploying charging both behind the fence as well as publicly for our customers. And if we can go to the last slide, please. All this is to say that electric is really the powertrain technology that we feel is ready to help us transition away from fossil fuels and diesel. We don't really need to wait for anything else. And we want to work with all of our partners to help transform the industry. And we know that this is a big step, but Tesla's here to help, whether that's through charging or through our energy storage and servicing all of those components. We want to take everything that we've done, both on the light duty side, but most notably as we've taken our pilot fleet and put that into the field, all of that experience to make sure that your operations can be a success. And we're excited to work with all of you and our partners to make that happen. And now it's time for electric and the semi to do so at scale. Thanks so much, Rachel.
Thanks so much, Dan. Super appreciate it. We'll bring you back for the Q&A. Our next speaker is Wen Han, who is the founder, chairman, and CEO of Windrose EV Trucks. Wen, thank you so much for joining us. I will hand it over to you.
Good morning, Rachel. Thanks for the opportunity. And it's actually, I'm in Shanghai for the day, so it's actually 1:30 past midnight. And I think it's appropriate for the theme running on less. We are, as a new company, trying to run on less time, less or fewer people than many of the leaders in the field. And we really appreciate the chance to take a crack at the challenge of electrifying trucking. So my name is Wen, and I will quickly share with you what we've done in the 3 years that we've been around as a company. The starting page is some of the key friends of ours that we've worked with, both in terms of customers and suppliers. Now, also a little bit about myself. I'm the founder of the company, also the chairman and CEO, and started the company in 2022 in the middle of COVID lockdown. And today we are just a little over 3 years old. We have teams and trucks on 4 continents in the world: Europe, North America, Oceania, which is Australia and New Zealand, as well as Asia, of course. And I come from an AI background, graduating from Stanford, and before that I was a math, economics, and Spanish major. So I am in no way sort of an expert in trucking or making trucks, but I spent the last 4 years in autonomous driving, working at a company called Plus, where we had the privilege of working with companies like Scania, Navistar, now International, Iveco in Europe, FAW, and other OEMs in China. So I had a good flavor of the trucking business and really wanted to have a chance to build EV trucks ourselves. So that's sort of the story behind me and how we started the company. Next page, please. We are lucky, despite our recent start and our youth, we have been captured in the news media by many top journals, and I think that really shows the world's interest in EV trucks. This is a mix of, as you can see here, New York Times, Bloomberg, CNBC. In Belgium, where we're actually headquartered now, we're covered in a number of Dutch media, and of course in China, Japan, France, Germany, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom. So we are really thrilled to be receiving so much attention, and it shows that there's much to do, and we must not disappoint. Next page, please. Next slide, please. Great. We've worked with effectively all of the major trailer types in the world. I mentioned 4 continents that we have our trucks on today, but trailer types is very important to us because the diversity of trailer types ranging from the shortest 20-foot container trailer to the longest, which is the bottom page photo in this page, running a 64-meter long, 34-ton total weight double trailer in Denmark. We believe that's also the first ever public drive by an EV truck hauling 2 trailers. The range of different trailer shape, dimensions, and types is one key metric that we measure to really show the interoperability and the practicality of our trucks. Next slide, please. And everybody can hear me okay, right? I think one of my colleagues was saying he's having difficulty hearing me.
Yes, yeah, we've got you.
Oh, great. So it's just his problem. There we go. In terms of coverage, we are operating in today, I believe this is 7 of the world's top 15 largest economies. We're going to 2 more, United Kingdom and Spain. And so going after the world's top markets is one of our key strategies. Next page, please. Besides range of markets and trailer types, our charging interoperability is one of the key things we really focus on. As you can see here, all the blue areas and routes are areas in which we've already tested our trucks. Overall, we've tested over 230 chargers across effectively every notable operator of charging and hardware maker. We do not make our own chargers. However, we're compatible with CCS1, which is North American, CCS2, European and Australian, New Zealand, GBT, which is the Chinese standard, as well as MCS, which is now becoming global. We think of ourselves as perhaps more like an Android than an iPhone in that being operable, or like the ThinkPad computer instead of the MacBook, which is having the plug for everything, every type is really important to make our customers enable them to have a seamless experience using this truck in their fleet, wherever they are. Next page, please. These are just some key detail slides in terms of all the charging interoperability tests we've done. Last year, we completed a bobtail coast-to-coast trip across the United States and tested on every major charging operator and hardware type. Next page, please. We've also completed similarly a coast to inland border trip of European Union, in which we covered, I believe, 63 public chargers. And that's also the first time such a trip was done in Europe. Next page, please. Next page is from just 3 days ago. We completed what I believe to be the world's longest loaded EV truck trip. This was 3,096 miles traveled. We stopped 9 times en route to charge using all public chargers in China. And the entire trip took 6 days. We had to allow more tests for more time for driver resting and so forth. Also, some of the chargers were actually not as fast as we would have liked. We have a dual plug system on an 800-volt platform, which enables us to charge about 60% of the battery in less than 35 minutes. And so wherever we can find 2 chargers nearby, we can actually plug both in at the same time, even if they're from different hardwares. Next page, please. We also aim to really diversify the weather conditions or road conditions in which we test. So we look to the best in the industry. Of course, we have Tesla and Volvo on today's call, but we also found public data from the Mercedes-Benz or Daimler e-Actros series. And we believe we've tested at a hotter temperature, colder temperature, and also much higher altitude than public data available from the Daimler e-Actros program. In particular, in China, where we tested on the Tibetan Plateau, it is actually higher than the highest point in Europe, higher than we drove on a highway that's higher than Mont Blanc in Europe. And that really gave us a chance to, in the 3 years that we have, put our trucks through all sorts of challenging scenarios. Next page, please. Again, just some key figures. We focus on having a center driver configuration, which enables superior aerodynamics. We believe our battery pack design makes it more modular, and of course higher battery density and performance than most trucks. 1400 horsepower through the 4-motor double E-axle design. And of course, generally speaking, having a very lightweight design for our long-range version. I would like to pay homage to the Tesla truck, because many people have commented the Windrose truck looks similar to the Tesla truck. I think that's absolutely true. We believe that aerodynamics point us into basically effectively a universal design over time, which many other OEMs have also experimented with. And I believe that, again, in looking to the best in the industry, we want to learn from the best, but of course also build upon it and make our product truly a global and interoperable platform for truck users worldwide. I believe this might be the last page, but let's double check. Okay, sorry, there's a bit more. As one more thing, as Steve Jobs likes to do, we also are working on our own proprietary drive-by-wire design, which is both the braking and the steering system. We believe these are key enablers and bottlenecks before trucks are fully automated. And so the product you see in the front is our prototype skateboard, sort of fully autonomous chassis based on our own designed brake by wire and steer by wire system. So first we start with electric, and then we'd like to eventually take us to full autonomous in the future.
Thank you so much, Wen, for your presentation. Thanks so much for joining us today. I will call you back for our Q&A, and we have our final speaker today. I would like to introduce Tricia Dello Iacona. We just went over this before the call. Sorry about that. Who is the head of policy for CalSTART. Tricia, thank you for being the anchor to our presentation today. I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, I get the fun job of pulling this all together and talking about policy. So thanks, Rachel. I really appreciated hearing from my fellow panelists on the current state of heavy-duty battery electric technologies. It's really incredible to hear all of the innovation that has already been underway. And a huge thanks to Mike and Rachel and the entire NACFE team for bringing us together to tackle such a critical topic. I'll start with a quick overview of who we are and the tools and resources we offer to help you all succeed. And then we're going to dive into some of the more meaty topic around what's happening at the federal and the state level in the policy world, and then how the shifting policies are shaping the landscape for zero emission trucks. We can go to the next slide. So this is CalSTART's unique value proposition. We are a mission-driven nonprofit industry builder organization working to accelerate a clean, efficient, and equitable transportation systems. We have over 270 members that span the transportation sector, and then we're guided by our science-based targets. We also provide expertise by advising state agencies on vehicle and infrastructure program design, and we serve as third-party administrators, primarily in California, but rapidly increasing nationwide on key programs that help deploy zero-emission vehicles and infrastructure. And with that, I'm thrilled to announce that we have just been selected to administer Washington State's new zero-emission incentive program for medium and heavy-duty vehicles, and you'll be hearing more about this program and opportunities within that program very soon. We also provide, I see Mike coming on. Can you hear me okay? Oh, okay.
Yes, sorry, we got you.
Okay. We also provide market intelligence by helping fleets and manufacturers identify trends, funding, and demand, and we connect stakeholders from utilities to government to scale deployments from pilot to commercial reality. Oh, Mike, is there feedback? I think I'm echoing. Okay, let's try again. And then finally, I'll say we also co-lead the global MOU on zero-emission medium heavy-duty vehicles. So our work spans not just nationally, but also internationally. We do this in partnership with the Netherlands government. Okay, you can go to the next slide. And this next slide is just a kind of snapshot of some of the members that we work with. You can go to the next slide. So I'm going to dive in just a couple of resources to kind of help frame out, how CalSTART looks at this work, and then I'll wrap up with some policy updates. So this here is our zeroing in on zero emission trucks report. I think many of you are aware of this. It highlights the continued increase in medium and heavy duty zero emission truck deployments across the United States. Here's a snapshot from our latest update that was completed in January 2025. This is showing that there's now more than 42,500 zero-emission trucks deployed on U.S. roads as of June 2024, and that there are 37 OEMs now with at least one ZEP model deployed. You can go to the next slide. And then next, I'm going to dive into our zero emission technology tour, the ZETI tool. This is an online interactive resource. This is just a snapshot. There's a lot more that you can do behind the scenes when you're up on the website. It is an interactive resource to establish a current and shared knowledge base for worldwide commercially available offerings of zero emission medium and heavy duty vehicles. It provides fleets and governments with comprehensive information covering key vehicle specifications, and you can play around with all the different filters that it allows. And Mike has reminded me a few times now that this tool is personally very helpful for him. So if you've not had a chance to check it out, I encourage you all to. I believe Rachel will be adding it as a resource after this webinar. We can go to the next slide. And then this is our funding finder. It's a very useful tool designed to help tribal communities, local municipalities, businesses, fleet owners, and others identify and secure key funding opportunities to help their transition to zero emission medium heavy duty vehicles and infrastructure. It's a nationwide resource, so not limited to any state in particular, and it provides funding opportunities at both the federal and the state level. And again, once you are on the website, you can filter down based on state or different funding category that you're looking for. Okay, let's go to the next slide and dig into some policy conversations. Navigating federal policy shifts. So CalSTART has built obviously a strong set of tools. These are just a snapshot of the resources that we provide to help our members navigate the current ecosystem, from incentive trackers to deployment data and funding finders, as I just shared. But even with the best tools, the policy environment itself is shifting, as we are all aware underneath us, and that uncertainty has real implications for planning and investment. That brings us to the federal landscape and the need to understand where we are today, what's at risk, and how that could shape the future of clean transportation. So let's go to the next slide. I feel like we talk about the carrots and the sticks so much, but I thought I'd bring it up here too. So over the past 4 years, this is kind of the landscape that we have, right? We've seen historic federal investment in clean transportation, from robust tax credits under the Inflation Reduction Act to unprecedented funding through bipartisan infrastructure law. These provisions have sent a strong signal to the market to invest, build, and deploy cleaner technologies. But what's important to remember from the last few years is that it's not just about the carrots, like tax credits and grants. We've also seen strong regulatory action that provided the certainty and long-term signals the industry needs. Rules like EPA's greenhouse gas emission standards and the Advanced Clean Trucks Rule have created clear market certainty, market expectations. When combined with incentives, they give manufacturers and fleets the confidence to invest, scale, and innovate, knowing there is both demand and direction. That policy alignment between the carrots and the sticks work in tandem and was the key to unlocking private investment, accelerating technology deployment, and building real momentum across the sector. Let's go to the next slide. So where are we today? Now, with some of those rules facing legal and political threats, and with incentives under fire in Congress, we risk disrupting that alignment, and with it, the business case for clean transportation. The certainty that we once had is now under pressure. We're watching new tariff threats on clean energy technologies, political efforts in Congress to claw back or defund key IRA provisions, and federal funding freezes, as well as a broader shift in tone that makes long-term planning for fleets, OEMs, and infrastructure providers more complex. For companies making multi-year investments in vehicles, charging, and a skilled workforce, these pendulum shifts can slow momentum and create real risk. That's why clarity, consistency, and defending these policies is so important, not just for the climate, but for competitiveness and industrial leadership. The uncertainty and confusion is very real, but so is the momentum, as we've heard today, and we believe it can be navigated with coordination, continued investment, and clear communication. And that leads us to the next topic. We're also seeing states step up, as we did with the first administration, and the state leadership is so important right now. Thank you. Next slide. States are playing a critical role in filling the gaps through infrastructure investment, fleet incentives, and regulatory leadership. You can go to the next slide. And one last resource that I want to share with you all that kind of helps tee up the conversation around states is our Z Ahead dashboard. This is a tool that we've pulled together in the past few years. It provides policymakers, industry leaders, and advocates alike a snapshot of the actions that are driving success in states that have committed to a rapid transition to zero-emission trucks and buses. As I mentioned earlier, we're seeing states step up and ensure the transition is continuing, such as the Washington State newest incentive program that I just announced earlier. We're also seeing state legislators advance important policies, such as the indirect source rules and the low carbon fuel standard, to keep this momentum forward. And on our website, the Z Ahead dashboard, you can find, you can kind of play around with the states and all different criteria to see where your state or a state that you're targeting is leading in this space. And we can go to the next slide. I'm done. I see Rachel on my screen. So that's it for now. And now I think we're going to move to questions. Thanks, Rachel.
Thanks so much, Trisha. Truly perfect timing. I'll call everybody back here and we'll get started with the Q&A. We have quite a few audience questions here. I know I certainly have some myself. So thanks everybody for being here, for sticking with us. And I'll start, Trisha. This question is for you because this is top of mind. So in this industry, we talk a lot about the coasts, right? We talk a lot about California. We talk a lot about New York. At NACFE, we're interested in the entirety of North America, which obviously spans more than these two states, right? And so in your presentation, you had mentioned, we were talking about the action at the state level and how important state leadership is here. Can you tell me which states you feel like we don't talk enough about in this industry? In your work, who do you see state-wise as somebody who's not getting as much attention, but is still a strong advocate in this industry?
Yeah. Okay, I was on mute, sorry. I think that's a really important question. My mind goes directly to where we're seeing the most investments in the manufacturing pop up. I feel like especially now in this political climate, it's so important and critical that we're bringing forward the investments and the onshoring and the domesticating of the manufacturing that we're seeing here in the U.S. brought forward primarily from the investments in the Inflation Reduction Act that I spoke about. And so states like North Carolina, Georgia, New Mexico, Illinois, where there's manufacturing that is happening, I think these are the critical force. And often it's red and purple states. I think there's no denying in some of that. These are the states that are driving the manufacturing, and in an administration that cares so much about being remaining globally competitive. And we've heard from, Winrose and the amazing work that they're doing globally. It's really critical that we are talking about the investments that are being made here in the US.
Mm-hmm. I think that sounds great. So I also want to talk a little bit about fleet education, because that's obviously very important to what NACFE does here. So this question is for everybody. When you're engaging with your customers, when you're engaging with your members, where are the gaps that you see in fleet education around heavy duty BEVs? And really that question's for the full panel here. Feel free to, whoever comes off mute first can go first.
Yeah, I'd say, what's the starting point for a fleet, right? I think that's really important for them to understand. When do I take the first step? How do I take the first step? The important thing is that you take a step, I think, and then there's a lot of other things that can fall into place. You just got to look at all the different factors. But as far as training drivers, I think driver education is a constant need in the adoption of BEV into heavy duty. I think that needs to continue and maybe even accelerate more.
Anything else to add?
I'll jump
I
in.
don't know if I'm here to ask questions or answer questions, Rachel, but there's this is where the benefit of our wide range of duty cycles and use cases really can help our industry. So, yard tractors, terminal tractors, that's a great place to start with electrification, or even like parts vans and pickup trucks. And, we've seen some fleets offer electric cars to their truck drivers. They bring them in, they park them right where the truck was charging overnight. And those are just great first steps, like Jared's saying, to start this journey and learn what the hell a kilowatt hour is, or different charging apparatuses, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I think that's a great point, Jared.
Yeah, I will
If I
add
may
that.
add,
Oh, go ahead, Wayne.
Dan, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. No, please.
Okay. If I just quickly add, I think our friends on the panel here, both Volvo and Tesla, have done a fantastic job. I would only add that particularly in China, in Australia, New Zealand, and also in Europe, the direction on electrifying fleets, both the carrots and the sticks are actually, I believe, much more consistent, especially recently. So when we speak to our customers in the United States, take for instance, one of the brands we work with is Remy Martin, the famous French cognac brand, which is globally sold and enjoyed. They can just point to their team in China who's already used to using our trucks, and they say, okay, here's how charging works, here's how the economics works, and here's how the driver enjoys the center driving configuration. And it's the same for when we can point our US customers to their colleagues in Europe, or in Australia and New Zealand. So I think for us, we try to maybe share more what's going on outside the United States to our customers in North America as a reference point. And generally, folks have found that to be helpful.
Yeah, I think, one thing as we start, it's always this question about TCO and understanding, fleet operability and how the truck slots into that. And sometimes we have to pick apart and work with fleets on, well, what are the operations that work really well and pair with electric? And sometimes, fleets get stuck because it won't solve literally all applications. And what we like to try to is to pick out and say, well, what's the starting point? It might be that 95% of your operations work with this. And so there's a great way to, start that conversation and potentially get things into, get things moving. We also see that a lot of fleets don't have experience in dealing with charging, be it that they never operated an EV, and so they just don't even know what the experience is going to be like, but also what is it like to deploy. And so we really try to provide some insights into what it means to integrate charging both at a deployment level, but also then in the operational level. How does it become a seamless part of your operation? Training drivers, training fleet managers on when do you charge? How do you think about charging with regards to the upcoming work that truck has to do? So there's a lot of those education points, and we understand that it's new for our customers, and we're happy to help work with them for them to best understand how to integrate EVs into their fleet.
Awesome. This is great. So my next question here is specifically for you, but I think Jared and Dan, with your experience, I'd be interested to hear your perspectives as well. So when in your presentation, we heard a lot about all the testing that the Windrose truck is currently going through, specifically looking at that slide that you have about the test conditions. So with your experience in the U.S., can you tell me a little bit about what you've learned for the regions that make the most sense for early adoption? We have a lot of questions from audience members about rollout of infrastructure. What freight routes make the most sense right now for early adoption? And then, like I said, Jared and Dan, feel free to weigh in as well.
Thank you. I think for us, we try to focus on a couple of things. One is obviously the states that have more traffic, just more generally more trucking. So that's California, that's Arizona, Texas, and so forth. The second thing is we always look for where there's already charging available. So despite the many, I believe, the concerns about there being a lack of infrastructure, companies like Electrify America and so forth have built a pretty fair amount of chargers. Even though they're not ubiquitous, but we're able to take advantage of those, right? So we generally don't require our customers to build a new charger just to do a demo with us or just to try our trucks. That's the second thing. And the third thing, of course, is a matter of range, right? So um, uh, we have a sleeper, we have a bed in the back of the truck, and so we really want to start to enable our customers to get used to using EV trucks for the long haul, with the appropriate amounts of charging stops in between. So we think of connecting California and sort of going eastward. That's one corridor. And of course, New York, New Jersey is a good area. I believe Washington and so forth is also good. But it's really the intersection of these three things. How much business there is, how much charging can you find, whether in depot, private charging, or public, and then lastly, sort of just the driver behavior, where they're used to used to resting and can charge at the same time.
Great. Volvo, Tesla, anything to add?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I would say that two key things are, energy availability and duty cycle.
Mm.
Um, also the terrain that you're going to be running on is really important. So doing a lot of hills at a high elevation may not be as effective right now. But, so right now, I'll tell you what we've seen the most success at, right, so far, and that's really in drayage, grocery applications is where we've seen a lot more volume, I guess, happening actually in the market historically up to this point. Doesn't mean that can't change. But and then of course, temperate climates just help the truck to perform more efficiently. But doesn't mean you can't deploy in a cold weather climate. We've deployed trucks in Canada as well, and it works up there in those applications. But it requires, some preparation. So anyway, the best locations, I'd say historically, you've seen by far the most volume in Southern California.
Mhm.
But we've also seen small deployments in the Northeast U.S. And we're starting to see a little bit in the Northwest area, and then the Southeast and down into Texas even.
Mhm. Gotcha.
Yeah, I'll add that where we see success and opportunity, both with what we've done so far in the regions we've operated, whether that's for testing or with full deployments, but also working with customers and evaluating their fleet networks, is California is obviously the early mover for a number of reasons, but where we really see the opportunity is where a gross amount of fuel is consumed. The higher the fuel and energy throughput, the faster the payback period. And so this can be in areas that are multi-climate, because your consumption goes up in various conditions, which means it's a better opportunity for electric to perform. And we've tested in Alaska, we've tested it on Baker Grade. We feel confident in the truck's capabilities, but more broadly, it's again like where you're going to consume fuel. If you haul far, if you haul fast, and if you climb a bunch of mountains, it's actually where we see the opportunity. Because at least with regenerative braking, you get a chance to claw that back and improve your efficiency. Unlike with diesel, it's gone. So we really look for those high throughput applications and where we see a huge amount of opportunity. And that's got an application front. But on the geography front, we're trying to be as indiscriminate as we can. I agree with Wen that it's about where are their trucks going to be. California, Texas, those are the big hitters. But then we're looking to just tackle the freight network as they move. And we are already working on charging stations in a bunch of those locations, in addition to the Midwest, like in Illinois, for example, because we see big opportunity there as well.
Gotcha. This is great. Well, I was just looking at our time here, folks, and I really wish that we had more time for questions because our audience gave us some good ones here. But that's going to wrap up our first session so everybody can move along with their afternoon stuff. And if you could get to our last slide here, I just want to thank everybody for joining us today. In 2 weeks, we will be back for our second session that is titled Strategizing Successful Heavy-Duty BEV Adoption. We will be hearing from fleet leaders across North America about their experiences with these heavy-duty vehicles. Remember to go back to the landing page of the session on runonless.com to take the quiz. Make sure that you accept the invitation to the workshop when you see it come through, and certainly connect with us on social media. We have all of our social media handles out here. But we super appreciate the time that you've spent with us here today. A very, very special thank you to our speakers for taking the time to be with us. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you again here in 2 weeks. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.